Hello and welcome to the Life and Fight of a podcast. This is an interviewed edition. Too many of them recently. I'm joined by my co-host Simon from Hive. Hi, Simon.
Hi, Jake. And yeah, today we're joined by Mark Parkinson. He's been in the music industry for quite a while. He's trained alongside myself and Jake back in Fighting Fit, as well as training with me at Hive now. And he's got quite a few exciting projects on at the moment. Anything you want to sort of add to that, Mark?
No, just thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me an excuse to get dressed and speak to other people.
I agree. I only get dressed twice a week to do this with Simon. So
yeah, just the top half.
That's It's like the old football.
The most ludicrous boxer shorts on in the world underneath, and then that's it.
So, Mark, like Simon said, you've been in the music industry for quite a while now. Just take us back to the beginning. What sort of age did you realise that you love music in the way that you wanted to pursue it as a passion? What got you into it?
I think I didn't really come from a musical family in terms of no one else played an instrument or anything like that. But my dad had a really great record collection, and music was on all the time, and he was passionate about music. So that's I kind of just sort of got into it through that, really, just having records on in the car and stuff, and just being surrounded by music all the time. And also, as well, I think another huge part of it was just being kind of really into film when I was younger, in terms of like soundtracks and sound effects and things. I didn't really understand them. Like, it was kind of, I don't know, sort of, do you know, when you're younger, and I've got a younger sister as well, and I was either at my mum's house or my dad's house, so sometimes a babysitter becomes a film on TV. So you just get plonked in front of that sometimes, which, you know, I understand, it's fair enough. But it was, I got obsessed with like soundtracks and like the sounds of even like footsteps and things. Like, I didn't know why. I just really was sort of drawn to it. I was like, why does that sound like that? And just got really into it. We're talking like 5 years old, really young. And then sort of developed from there. I think like later on, I found like an old sort of trumpet in the attic at my mum's. And I was like walking around with this trumpet thing as a little kid, and just not really being able to make a sound. But I was interested in it. I knew that it did make a sound. I'd know, it seemed almost like innate. I was never like introduced to it by anybody. It was just kind of naturally happened. And then I discovered my uncle had a guitar. So it's like, oh, what's this? I want kind of, and then, you know, super grateful. He just lent me this guitar. I've still got it. He's like, gave it me when I was probably about 9 years old. And then kind of just started from there, really, just plonking about on it, just not playing anything great or whatever, but just being super interested in it for reasons I don't even know. Like I said, I wasn't like properly introduced to it or anything, not a musical family or anything like that. I just kind of was just drawn to it for reasons I don't really know. I think some people just are, maybe. But yeah, that's where it all sort of started for me personally.
Oh, that sounds quite like an interesting sort of introduction into the music way then. Sort of like being fascinated with the sounds and sort of letting it evolve from there then.
Yeah, I think it was definitely more about sounds to me when I was younger, as opposed to like actual songs and things. It was like, this part of this song sounds wicked. I don't know why. I had no understanding of like different instruments or sounds or production techniques or anything. I'm just like, oh, this, you know, this like weird swirling sound in this Beatles track that's on in the car sounds wicked. I have no idea what it is, but you know, I want to listen to it all the time. So it's kind of, it was really just that. And then from there, sort of developed into, you know, songwriting and liking like actual, the construction of songs and things, as opposed to just like sounds.
Yeah. So when did like it sort of transition from sort of the fascination and the sort of initial introduction up until sort of like learning around like how to play the instrument and the structure of songs and things like that?
I think I sort of did a little bit, sort of when I was roughly about 9 years old. I kind of learned a few chords and things, and then I could play a few, few bits and bobs, some, David Bowie tunes and Beatles tunes and just things that my dad was listening to. And then when I got into high school, like year 7, there was a kid there at school that played the drums and guitar. I was like, this kid's cool as fuck. I want to be his friend. And then he sort of introduced me to more sort of like modern music and things like, because I was just listening to what my dad was listening to, which is mainly still what I listen to now, just loads of like old soul and funk and classic rock and stuff. But yeah, so he sort of introduced me to more sort of current music, and he was like really into it. He was like taking guitar lessons as opposed to just teaching himself, and he was more sort of a studied musician as opposed to me, who was kind of just doing everything by ear, and it being a lot more of a fascination as opposed to like a studied path, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it sort of was hanging around with him, became friends with him, and then sort of got onto the path of like taking guitar lessons, and and it all becoming like a lot more structured, which looking back, I was quite lucky, sort of growing up in quite like a working class background. It's not a lot of kids do like grades and things, and like later on when I went to university and stuff, like everyone in uni is like middle class or upper class, like quite posh and stuff. And nothing against any of that or whatever. It's people who sort of grew up with a bit more money and like, oh, you're going to do piano lessons on the weekend and things like that wasn't really part of
that's a norm to them. Whereas
yeah, exactly, which is brilliant. Like if I could, I don't have kids, but if I could do that for, my kids, whatever, then I absolutely would. But yeah, so I never had any of that sort of, all my sort of interaction with music was just almost like by accident, until high school when I met this friend and they were doing all that, and it was kind of like, oh, you can actually study this and learn more and stuff. I'd never even thought of it like that, and then once he introduced me to that, I was like, wow, this is amazing, and sort of just became obsessed with it. And sort of everything disappeared then. Like computer games and all this other stuff that I was doing is kind of just stopped existing, and it was just all, just wanting to just get better at playing guitar, really.
What's the oldest sort of film, or like you referred to at the beginning, what's the sort of oldest film you remember which sort of caught your eye that still brings back a bit of nostalgia now?
I think a lot of people our age, like a lot of the old like Disney films, as like like all like Aladdin, Aristocats, and all that sort of stuff when I was really young. And also my grandma used to like take old sort of like The Thief of Baghdad and Jason the Argonauts, and sort of like early like Hollywood, like 1930s sort of, that had like those mad string arrangements and crazy stuff that's like, people still sample now, that track, Anderson .Paak track Bubbling, that's like that string thing's like taken from, so I don't know what the film is, but it's that sound. So that was like really, I thought that was wicked. And then also just like, I probably shouldn't have been watching this when I was like super young, but I remember watching my dad used to let me watch like old like action films and stuff that I was probably too young to watch. But I remember watching Tango and Cash with Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone. And there's a scene in it where he's like walking up some stairs with these boots on, and he's walking on glass, and it's obviously done after the fact. It's been filmed by someone in a studio who's made that sound like by crunching something or whatever. And I was like, what is that? That's definitely not the sound of him walking on glass, but it sounds something like that. But it was just like, what is that? Like, it sounds wicked, but I don't know what it is. And I can picture that scene in my mind. I was just like obsessed with little things like that. Yeah, and then old like 80s, like things like talking about Kurt Russell, Big Trouble in Little China, that's like John Carpenter style, like those synths and things that have like obviously made a reinsurgence with like Stranger Things. That sort of like that sound was like wicked because it's like super futuristic and
electro sort of.
Yeah, and just like when you're a really young kid, you're just like, what even is that? Yeah, what even is that? It's like,
especially in the 80s and 90s, you found like everything that was sort of futuristic. It was sort of everyone sort of geared towards like, this is what the future could look like. Obviously, when you look at like Demolition Man and stuff like now, which coincidentally got announced yesterday that they're doing a sequel to it. I don't know how they're going to do that. Sylvester's just going through his catalogue and thinking, what can I make more money out of?
But is Sly doing it?
Yeah, apparently.
Is he dropping Wesley Snipes in as well?
I would not be surprised.
Oh, mate, Wesley needs that right now. He needs them.
Was the other person? Was it Sandra Bullock? No, it was the other one.
It was Sandra Bullock, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think so.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, she was the other like cop, weren't she?
Yeah.
The thing about that though, obviously, if you were back then, you're thinking this is what it could look like in 50, 40 years, and obviously, technically, we're around 40 years after that anyway, and it looks nothing like that. But we were still intrigued to the fact that we could still watch it and it still feels like the future now, if that makes sense.
So definitely. There's it's crazy. All those films were like way off. Like Predator 2 was like set in 1997 and they had fucking laser guns.
How did they do that noise, Mark?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, stuff like that, like the lightsaber like throb and stuff like that. I was like, what is that? It's amazing.
I actually watched the newest one last night because it was May the 4th. I had not seen it yet.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's hard because you like the older films. You probably the same. So obviously everyone watched the 70s ones, obviously our age, around the 90s or whatever, and then the 2000 ones came out, and everyone from the 70s were ripping in the 2000s. But I enjoyed the ones with Darth Maul and stuff like that. Yeah. And now the new ones are out. Everyone's saying the 2000 ones are actually great. These ones are bad. So it's like, well, make up your mind.
Right? Yeah. I think it's we've one of those film franchises. There's so much sort of people are so entrenched in their memories of the older ones and things like anything new that's not good enough. Yeah. I'm not like a major fan of that franchise or anything, but I do enjoy it. But I kind of just like watching, like, oh, that's a cool sci-fi action film or whatever. I miss a lot of it, like a lot of the sort of nerdier things. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I wish I kind of knew like the sort of inner workings of some of these characters, and then I'll probably be more into the films. But yeah, so I'm kind of not. I don't think I've watched the last sort of 2 or 3. I need to.
It's nice just to sort of detach from like reality and just sort of watch something for the surface of it rather than trying to sort of get too deep into it. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Like last night's one, I was trying to remember. Like the aim of, I think it was a week ago when I realised it was May the 4th. I was going to watch all 9 back to back, but obviously just got a bit busy and stuff, and it's a bit long. But I've done it previously anyway, so I was like, I'm trying to remember little things in my head. I'm watching the film like, oh yeah, that, and then you could tell there was even things I was missing. Like I think some of the actors from the 70s films were brought back in this one as a bit of nostalgia kick. You could tell who they were, but I couldn't pick who they were previously. I was like, he's from, I don't know what his character is though. That was pretty cool. But I think the lightsaber noise is quite infamous, and it'd be cool to figure out how they even created that and what the inner workings were for that, because when someone made it in the early 70s or whatever year it was, it's now still the same 50 years later, and all they've done is just give a little bit. Man.
Yeah, no, it's it's a great, like, I've seen sort of like videos and things of people in studio creating Foley. It's called like Foley, that sort of effects and things like, I don't know, if someone's like gets stabbed or whatever, there's someone in someone in a studio like stabbing a watermelon with a pencil, and you know, just like this is happening in the film. How would you make that sound? Like someone's getting shot. Like obviously they didn't actually shoot the person, so it's like what? And we need to create this sound. So you know, it's one like really creative because you've just got this sort of like, well, what can we do that would sound close to that? And then the second thing is, you know, it's just some of the final stages, what they get to for thinking about that are just ludicrous. Like you know, zombie films, like they'll be like ripping up like bits of like raw chicken and stuff in front of a microphone, and like, you know, it's just like, why have I ended up here? Why is this is amazing that this is my job. I can imagine I'm just thinking that, like ripping up this like raw chicken in front of a microphone.
So have you done any of that kind of work in your sort of career?
No, I haven't. No, I've got a few friends from university that sort of went into sort of that, more into like sound design as opposed to like Foley, which sound design is kind of like, I don't know if you watch like an advert or whatever, sort of advert music and things like that, where the, you know, titles to a film or whatever, we want this to, you know, it's a TV program, this needs to sound in this certain way, and we'll just create a piece of music for that. So I've had friends that go into that, but nobody that I know who does, you know, sound effects stuff. It'd be really interesting to sit down with someone like that. I think it's quite a sort of small community of people that produce a lot of it for a lot of films. So I don't think it's
quite niche.
Yeah, I think so. So, you know, but it'd be wicked to sit down with someone and chat to them about it. I bet there's some like wild things that they've had to do to create certain sounds and things.
I think you should do some videos, Simon, of Jiu Jitsu moves where people blow their knees and then Mark makes the sounds for him.
Yeah, an exploded ACL.
Just get the one from the weekend just gone with Magalhães.
Yeah, we'll just get like a
bubble wrap and some
one of those resistance bands and just snap it.
Is that what you do?
Bubble wrap would be a good one. Yeah.
The bubble wrap is the crunch, and then the resistant band is like the snap.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So what sort of once you started to sort of learn sort of the sort of formality way of learning the instrument and everything, sort of what was the next step from there? Did you sort of start like bands in high school, or did that later on?
No, yeah, and straight away really. It was kind of, even though I was interested in studying the instrument in like a formal manner, my main goal really was just creating music. It's always been about that. I've never really sort of learned it to be technical, or, you know, I am interested in that and I want to become technically better all the time, but it was the main focus all the time is creating music for me personally. It's not, you know, and I was never really drawn to, I want to sit in an orchestra, I want to sit in a pit band, you know, a show or whatever, even though I've done things like that now. That was never an initial thing. It's like I want to get in a band with a bunch of my friends and write songs, and that was the main focus, and that still is really at this point. It's like that's, you know, what I get the most enjoyment out of in music is just sort of creating. So yeah, that was, you know, as soon as I could sort of find a few friends who were all sort of the same level, like all, you know, all awful really, but we would just be playing like, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers tunes and stuff, and just like it would sound absolutely shocking, but we were loving it. And then from there gradually moved into sort of writing our own songs and things after we sort of, which were really just ripping off bands that we liked and things like that. We were just sort of recycling it, which, you know,
so happens a lot of music anyway, doesn't it? That
yeah, exactly. At this point there's not really much original stuff around. It's all just sort of recycling what's come before. But yeah, so I guess as started really super early. As soon as we were able to, you know, playing in bands, and sort of, yeah, I've just kind of done that all my life, really.
Oh, fair. Did you have any sort of like band names that you sort of, when you look back on, going, "Oh, why did I pick that name?" Or why was that?
Man, probably.
You can't say probably. You've got to name them.
Definitely. I'm trying to think. We had a lot of silly names, like, oh, I can't even remember. I think the very first like serious band name won't be like, this is fucking cool, guys. It's like, we called our band the Art of Silence, and it was just like,
Pretty good,
just
that.
like absolutely disgusting. But we were just like, yeah, this is fucking cool. And oh man, that, yeah. But probably Lords. I'm trying to think, man, of any like ridiculous ones. But a lot, and we did loads of like gigs and things where we would just throw the band together, and it's just like, we'd go to a pub and just be like, they'd be like, what you calling or whatever, do you know, so they could write on the chalkboard outside.
Yeah.
And we're just like, just call us whatever you want. We're not bothered. We just want to play and get some pocket money.
Yeah.
So, you know, we just, yeah, a lot of the times it was just kind of like the band was a name that was made up by the pub or club we were playing in. But yeah, the Art of Silence, I remember that was like the first one of like an original bands where we were playing original music. We thought, yeah, this is super cool. And then just like looking back on it, it's just like, oh, it makes me want to throw up. But yeah, but I still know some of those guys now. Like, that's it. That's the thing, man. You spend a lot of time together and writing these tunes and like stuck in a room for hours and hours. So you know, you make really good friends doing that. Kind of like being, you know, a trainer or whatever. You're stuck on their mats like for hours upon hours, and you really get to know people. You know, and you got friends for life. Sort of, it's very similar.
What I was saying that what do you remember any of the pub names that they gave you? Any ones that stick out?
Oh, I can't remember. Sorry, I should. I'll see if I'll have a think while we're going through, and if I can, I'll just shout one out to you later. Yeah, some of them are probably unmentionable as well.
Hey, we're a podcast. You can mention whatever you want.
I'll have a think.
So have you got any like sort of gigs that you sort of, as you started to sort of play and sort of progress through sort of your own skill level and that, where you sort of, they were very standout-ish and sort of kind of pivotal in sort of where you are today?
I think anytime sort of growing up, I still do, but when I was a young teenager, I went to a lot of gigs and was like watching 2 or 3 gigs every week, all around sort of Manchester. So growing up, so then when we started playing a lot, anytime you played a venue where you'd like seen one of your favorite bands there before, or, you know, you get to a point where you're like playing that venue, it's like, oh, this is wicked. Like, I've been here so many times watching other bands, and they're never like, you know, it's not even like they're necessarily the biggest venue or, you know, anything like that, or you're getting paid a lot or anything. It's just like things that sort of, for me, it's just like nostalgia kind of. I think, oh, like I remember seeing this band here, you know, 10 years ago. It's cool to, you know, actually be playing this venue. So I think for me, it's more, it's more like a nostalgia thing, like playing somewhere that you know, you've been as a punter a lot of times, and you've seen some of your favorite gigs there and things like that, as opposed to like playing like a big, you know, arena or something like that. Yeah, especially with the type of music I play, I'm not thinking I'm going to be sort of playing a sold out Madison Square Garden anytime soon or whatever. It's, you know, it's quite niche, but yeah, it's more like sort of getting in a venue that you've seen bands there before. You're like, oh, this is wicked. You know, for me personally, that's I get sort of kick out of that.
Yeah, I think I agree with that one. Like, I fought in it was called Lava Ignite years ago in Preston, and then 8 years later, or 7 years later, I got to promote in the same venue, an event which is quite cool. What sort of venues have you performed in that you've gone, right, this is a bucket list one, really, if you know what I mean? Like, have you done anything in Manchester or anything like that?
I think a big one for me is played there quite a few times, but just Band on the Wall, because I've seen so many bands there, like so many bands. Sort of, if you're into like jazz, funk, soul, R&B, which is kind of my shtick, I guess. That's where those bands, those big like US bands, are coming over and playing, that play that sort of music. So I'll be there all the time. So then eventually getting to, play that venue and supporting some of those bands was like wicked. There's like certain bands that that come over, and I had a ticket to go and watch them, and then we get asked to support them, and it's like, this is wicked. I was already going to go to the gig anyway. So that's probably the big one for me. And as well, just on a sort of side note, it's just really nice to play. Like, the people there are wicked, like the staff and that, and they always have a good sound engineer, and the sound on stage is really good. You can hear everything really well, and off stage, like for the crowd and stuff. So it's it's nice and easy. Sometimes you'll play venues and you're like, I can't hear anything, what's going on, and it's just, you're not really comfortable the whole time you're performing, because you're just like, what does this even sound like? I can't hear anything. It's just like a mess on stage. It might sound great out front, but you can't really get comfortable, because you can't really interact in the same way, because obviously you're listening to everybody, and it's very sort of, again, I can only sort of reference the sort of music that I play, and a lot of it is it's written songs, but there's passages that are just like completely improvised and things. Like, there's a framework for it, but it's like very improvised. So it's, if you can't hear everybody, and you can't really react to them and what they're playing, and so if that's happening, it gets quite uncomfortable on stage if you can't hear properly. But never really had that problem with Band on the Wall, and so you kind of go there and you're like, oh, you're gonna have a good playing experience, and again, it's sort of growing up going there a lot. It's like, and that nostalgia thing I keep saying, is wicked to sort of finally be playing this venue that you've been visiting for years and years.
No, definitely. Like, so you mentioned sort of playing it recently, and the group you're in, or your band now, is Pieces of a Man. They've released an album, haven't they, as well, sort of late last year?
Yeah, sort of just, I think, summertime. Yeah, so like almost a year ago. Yeah. We played there quite a few times, supporting different artists. I think.
Oh, no, go on, carry on. I'm just getting up for the
we supported. I think the first time I played it, we were supporting Bilal, which is wicked, because it's like, I listened to Bilal for years. Like, is absolutely amazing. So it was cool to support him, and I think that was the first time we played there with that band. And we recently headlined it, which is great. So that's the first time we sort of headlined the venue, and start just generally doing headline gigs. A lot of our stuff's been support slots, which is great, because if no one knows who you are, that's kind of how you want to go about it, because you're not going to sell anything out with no matter how good your band is or how good your tunes are or anything like that. No one knows who you are. No one's going to come and see you, because they don't know you exist. Yeah. So doing the support thing is great. So, but recently we've done a few more headline stuff before all this COVID situation. Shut it all down. But starting to do some more headline stuff was cool because you know you get to play for longer, and you know just it's more of your show as opposed to you know supporting the headline acts and stuff. So headlining that venue in particular was, you know, like a definitely a bucket list moment.
So when did you guys like sort of start to get together as a group?
The band has been going for probably about 10 years, but I wasn't. The band was going long before I was in the band. I think I've been in the band for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, I remember seeing them at a venue, just like a little sort of bar venue. I can't even remember what it's called. But anyway, so I was there, and they were on, and they were sort of playing the music that I was into, like at the time, sort of, and still now, like that sort of neo soul kind of thing. And I was like, we weren't really hearing bands in Manchester playing that sort of music. Well, I wasn't, so I was like going down to, you know, the jazz cafe in London and stuff to, you know, catch those sort of bands and artists and things. Or again, like I said, a band on the wall and stuff. So to hear like a local band playing that sort of style, they definitely had their own thing going on as well. But you know, especially at that time, it's really heavily influenced by, you know, Bilal, D'Angelo, Omar, that kind of sound. So I was like, this is wicked. So I was, you know, had a few jars as well at the time. So I was like, went talking to them after, and I was like, they didn't have a guitar player. So I was like, you know, if you just want to have a jam or whatever, just, you know, get at me. I'm just really up for just, you know, I was really sort of impressed with not so much like the band itself, just like a band doing that sound. It was like, you know, I was really eager to involve myself in something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then a few weeks later, I got a call to come down to a rehearsal, and then it kind of just sort of took off from there. So it's very much like at first I was just like the guitar player, play their tunes this way, and then sort of eventually I started writing and, you know, getting sort of putting my own sort of stamp on the sound of the music. And I think with this album, it's like the first time it's kind of it's definitely like a cohesive sound. It's like our sound. I think before, even though there's great tunes, like the keys player Pills, who's like the main sort of driving force behind the band's great songwriter, and he's definitely got a sound to the way he writes. But I think previously it might have been people were supporting that, which was great. It sounds wicked, but I think this, you know, this album's like definitely like everyone's sort of put their touch on it, and it's a lot more unique sounding for that reason, I feel.
I listened to it again last night, and I might be wrong because I'm not the most musically gifted listener ever, but it threw me because I thought your music would be more indie style, and it felt like it was more like something you would pick up if you went to a bar and say like maybe in not South America, but like say New Orleans or something like that. That's how you go into sort of like a jazz bar there, and this is what would be on, if that makes sense.
Oh well, that's cool. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've been to New Orleans, and there's I think a lot of, you know, there's some really good bands there, a lot better than us. But yeah, I think just because there's that massive like funk and soul influence in the band, and you know, you've got the Meters and stuff coming from New Orleans, you know, that's like pioneers of that swampy, like loose funk sound.
That's literally I was speaking to Catherine, my girlfriend, and I was like, this, like I said, completely threw me. I thought I was expecting more indie sound, and then when it came on, the first place I thought of New Orleans, and I started listening more, and I thought, yeah, this is what it feels like if you were there, or if you like you watch shows or films or whatever, and it's got New Orleans, and they have like say they walk into a bar and you've got these sort of sounds in the background. This is what it felt like.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. Well, I think we've just been influenced by a lot of artists from you know, that part of the world. So yeah, naturally it'll sort of come out in the music. I think we do listen to other things like, you know, I think there's some indie stuff in there as well. Like I'm not really listening to it. It's a bit unavoidable in like growing up in Manchester and stuff with like Oasis and things like that. But I remember, well, still I'm a super big fan of Radiohead. And I think, and there's other guys in the band that are into, you know, all sorts of stuff. And that has definitely creeped in. But I think the, you know, overriding sort of sound is that sort of funk, soul, R&B thing that's, you know.
There seems to be like a bit of a resurgence of that kind of sound, isn't there? Because I noticed the name of the band, same as Joe Scott Heron's debut album, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, but basically,
sorry, I
cut you off there. Go on.
I was about to say, and that sort of sound, like you can sort of hear it more and more now creeping into sort of popular culture. So it's quite nice to hear this sort of real cohesive project from a Manchester band, and sort of having that sound re-emerge almost back into sort of popular charts.
Yeah, I think it's the band was called that before I joined the band, but it's the idea was kind of that particular album was quite sort of dark sounding in terms of like, it's not like super happy like soul funk music. It's quite, you know, introspective, and you know, with a lot of his work. And the idea was, I think, originally to, you know, do that sort of thing. We want that sound, but we want the kind of like dark elements of it. And I think a lot of people, yeah, it's sort of coming through a bit, especially with Gil Scott-Heron, just because of, you know, what he was saying back then is so relevant now still. It's you know, so I think a lot of people are like rediscovering his records because of, you know, just current times and things. Like he was saying things in the 70s that, you know, still apply now, which is sad in a way. You think we'd, you know, move on a little bit, but you know, it's great that he made those records, because it's giving like young kids now, you know, something to listen to that they feel really connected to, even though it was written like 40 years before they were even born or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. Like a lot of people are sort of rediscovering those old records and sounds and things, just because, you know, a lot of what they were saying applies to right now. So I think that's probably a big reason.
Are all the band members from Manchester?
No, I think I'm the only one who's actually from Manchester. So the keys player is from Reading. The sort of the guy who does a lot of our sampling and sort of sound design stuff and electronic thing, he's from DK. He's from London. The vocalist Tolu, he's from Southport. Bass player
with that name.
yeah. The bass player Tim, he's from Skem. I think it's like near Liverpool way. And then the drummer Aidan, he's from Bermuda. So we all sort of came to Manchester to study, and you know, sort of life all brought us here. I grew up here, and then yeah, the band was formed in Manchester, so it's like that's why we call it a Manchester band, because that's, you know, where the band was born. But you know, in terms of like where the members grew up, it's only me personally who's from Manchester. But we've all sort of lived in Manchester for years. Go on, what you say, mate?
Put a C on the end of Pieces of a Man. Pieces of a Mank.
Yeah, maybe I'll put it to them, see what they say.
Just release it as a song.
Yeah. Just do some funk cover of Wonderwall or something.
That would probably sound pretty good.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So next for you guys, like going forward, like have you got anything sort of for once the lockdown's over with? Have you got any plans for during lockdown? Like sort of what's going on with the band at the moment?
Yeah, obviously everything's sort of in terms of like live playing and things, which was our main focus at the moment, has all been stopped. So we've sort of been really just writing individually. So sort of with our eyes towards making the next record, really. So just trying to put, this time sort of in lockdown to use. And I think like a lot of us, definitely speaking for myself, it's, if I have any sort of downtime, I'm going to start writing music. Just it will just happen, even if I didn't have to. I wasn't making a record or anything. I would just start doing it anyway. But yeah, so I think just because of the way things are now, we're all just focusing on writing and sort of crafting stuff for the next record, and then not that it's going to be coming out anytime soon, but it's just while we've got this time, it's perfect opportunity to sort of get a few songs in the bag, and because if an album comes out with like 10 tracks on it, realistically you want to be sort of writing 20 tracks or even more. Some artists will write like 50 and like put 10 on there, so you want to make a pool of tracks, and then you can sort of take from that, and you have different criteria for that. I guess like the best songs is obvious, but a lot of the time it's just like what group of tunes sit well together as like an album, which is not as prevalent nowadays, because a lot of people just put out singles with a video and stuff, which I understand, like that's just where people consume music now. But if you're writing like an album where it's like a collective body of work, I guess they've all got to sort of work together with like a certain sound and things.
Yeah. Can you see yourselves ever doing sort of kind of what like a few of the artists are doing now, where they're compiling the singles that they've released, or the sort of kind of like the loose tracks that have been not made it to maybe some of the other projects, and sort of putting them together as a kind of like a playlist or a mixtape type of thing?
Yeah, definitely. We've sort of discussed that a little bit. Just with this, we have discussed how we would do this second album. Would it even be an album? Would we do like singles and things like that, and then sort of compile them at a later date? Yeah, we'd definitely be open to that for sure. We've not sort of decided as a band like what we would like to do, or discussed it with like the record company or whatever, anything like that. But we'd definitely be open to doing that. And we have got a few things that have been unreleased, which will be nice to put together on something at a later date. It's like like a playlist or a mixtape. Just bonus stuff, even like live material and things. There's we did some sessions towards the end of last year where we just basically played the album from start to finish, like live in the studio, and filmed it and things like that. So it'd be nice to put some of that out a bit more formally. We've put little bits of it out here and there, but it'd be nice to compile that stuff.
So with regards to the music side, is that your full-time job now? Are you looking to do that, or do you do something else?
No, yeah, it's so I guess it is my full-time job for sure, but it's being a musician's kind of personally speaking for myself, it's kind of like you do a lot of different things. So obviously part of my job is playing, writing songs and things, and part of my job is teaching music, writing and things like that. So it's not just sort of like playing in a band doesn't pay my like bills alone. There's different things, but it's all music related to everything. So I'm either playing music, writing music, or teaching music.
And what this question I was going to ask early on. So the first instrument you started to learn, or wanted to learn, was it the guitar?
No, it was, well, I wanted to learn the trumpet because I found a trumpet.
Because you found it.
And it was like beaten up, and I think I could sort of make one really horrendous like two out of it. And my mum was quickly sort of that's not happening.
Here's a guitar.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much switched to the guitar super early, and that's just because I thought it was cool. Like, it looked cool. Like, when people was there holding a guitar, I thought that looks wicked.
Yeah.
There's no real any thought of it. It was not even like, oh, I think that sounds better than other instruments or anything like that. It was just like, it looks cool, and that was kind of where that started. And yeah, maybe sort of, if I could start again, I might do maybe learn something else. But yeah, at the time it was just like, that looks wicked. I want to learn the guitar.
Is there any other instruments that you can play or can utilize?
I can sort of I can sort of get by with piano. I can play bass guitar a little bit. It's sort of similar in the terms of the way you're playing it, but the application in music is totally different. So I can play bass a little bit, and then drums a little bit as well. Just kind of nothing to the point where I would deem myself employable on those instruments, but enough to, sort of show some, if I'm in band practice or whatever, I want to describe something, I can, jump on the instrument and sort of crudely play it, the part, and, communicate the idea to somebody. But, I definitely wouldn't deem myself like employable on any of those other instruments. But, it's fun, definitely, for sort of writing purposes and things like that.
Oh, man. So you mentioned before as well, like, part of your job as a musician, sort of teaching. I know you've kind of got like a new project going now, aren't you, with the All Music Academy? Do you want to sort of tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, sure. So All Music Academy is like a music tuition company. That is, well, the idea is, I guess, when we were talking about earlier, like, I did a very sort of formal, like, way of studying, like, grades, and then did music in college, and then went to university and studied music. It was all very like the formal way of doing everything, from a really young age, studying with like a private tutor, 1-to-1 all the time. But I sort of realized there's a lot of people that love music that just don't want that sort of super formal, nose to the grindstone studying kind of, like, not everyone's coming at this as like, I want to do this as a job. They're just like, I want to go home and play some, just play some tracks and chill out. I want to, grab this acoustic and jam on this Pink Floyd tune for a little bit while I'm relaxing after work or whatever, which is fine. Like, that's great. Like, not everyone has to sort of be coming at something, like, I want to, this needs to be a career or whatever. Same as Jiu Jitsu. Like, there's so many people, like cameo from Whitney. There's so many people there, including myself, that are just doing it just as a hobby. Like, it's super interesting and things like that. I have no aspirations of like competing or like, to a high level or anything like that. And there's a lot of people that are interested in music in that same way. And I thought, I want to start something that's going to, give these people an opportunity to learn an instrument without, feeling like it's got to be taken super seriously. And, they can definitely move on to that sort of stuff as well. But it's more like sort of getting people, like, getting the mystique of learning an instrument away. Like, everyone's like, oh, that's going to be really difficult. Oh, I can't read music. It's like, and all this sort of stuff. And I think learning an instrument, there's a lot of mystique where people think it's really difficult, which, to get to a really high level, it is for sure. It's really, really hard. Yeah. But to get going on it and to be able to, hold a tune and work songs out and things like that, that's not that difficult. It's, adding that extra finesse and things that make people want to give you money to do it. That's the difficult part. Yeah. But yeah, so it was just bringing a company into the world that was kind of sort of fill that gap and give people a nice, easy way in that's not daunting or, you there's no sort of pressure or anything like that. It's super relaxed. It's quite social as well. Like, obviously not now, but you know, we usually do it where it's like group lessons, and you know, you can come grab your guitar, grab a beer and whatever, and just, you know, learn some tunes and things. And obviously we want people to improve and things, and you know, that's the main thing. We want people to keep developing and get better and better, but it's more about getting them excited about learning an instrument and just giving them that creative outlet, and you know, showing people that it's, you know, it's not this super difficult thing to do. So yeah, that's the main sort of ethos of the company, really.
Oh, that's brilliant. Like, I saw a few of the sort of like the pictures from like the group classes, and it sort of it looks like a really social environment, and most importantly, what you can see is everyone's having fun, really, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. It's just, I think people start, like, they'll go to the first like week or whatever, and they might be a bit apprehensive, like, oh, you know, I've never played before, and you know, it's like adults as well. So it's not the same as like when I studied when I was like really young and like how a lot of people do play instruments. Like, you know, it's like they already have their thing that they do in life or whatever, they're like, you know, their job and family and stuff like that. They're just looking for an outlet for that creativity, that I think is sort of inherent in everybody. It's just finding an outlet for it. Some people, you know, find it in sport or music or, you know, different forms of art and things like that. I think everyone sort of has that. It's just finding the right outlet for it for that individual. So yes. So I think people are a bit apprehensive at first, like, oh, is everyone going to be really good and stuff like that? But we group it so everyone's sort of at the same level, so that doesn't exist. Everyone's at the same level. There's no mixed abilities, and I think people quickly find out that, you know, everyone's sort of like-minded, and they're all sort of going at it in the same way as they are themselves personally. So you know, then any of sort of anxiety or anything like that dissipates really quickly, and you know, they start like having a laugh with it straight away. And you know, like I said, the sessions themselves are really relaxed and laid back, but obviously they're all taught by, you know, university and conservatoire, like sort of trained musicians. But so, you know, the tuition they're getting is really good, but it's delivered in a way where it's a lot more relaxed and you know, song driven. It's not like, oh, I want you to sort of play these scales and this, and you know, sort of heavy material. We're just, you know, those things do get learned, but it's all in the framework of learning songs and music.
That sounds like a pretty cool way to do it. So how have you sort of adapted then during the lockdown? Like, have you moved everything primarily online now? Like,
Yeah. So everything's running the same, but it's all just online. So we're just getting sort of group lessons, just similar to this. Or like we'd be here on like online, but we'd all have guitars and stuff, or whatever instrument you're learning. And yeah, it's sort of exactly the same, really. I don't feel like it's changed too much, to be honest. Obviously it has, we're not there in person, but I don't feel like the way we teach it or anything has had to change too much. We're really lucky in that, you know, learning a musical instrument has not really been hampered by this situation. So I think we're going to sort of carry on keeping like giving the online option as well, just even when we're out of lockdown. Obviously we'll go back to face and things. That's like the backbone of the company, like that way of learning. But I think this has opened up
quite a few new channels for it.
Yeah, and just shown us how you know, how great the experience can be online. So we'll definitely sort of keep the online element as well.
No, it's kind of forced you to do it when you maybe thought, oh, what's the point, because we're doing it face to face. But now it's forced you. You thought, oh, this can work. I guess the main worry, and correct if I'm wrong, will be when you're face to face, you can literally just like maybe move the fingers a little bit on the guitar and position them a bit better. What have you found that hard to maybe not be there to help them more physically, if that makes sense?
To be honest, no. Just because I sort of when I very first finished university, I started working in schools doing group lessons and things like that. And I got good at communicating what to do properly, because you don't want to be physically moving a kid's hand. You don't want to be touching those kids. So you just, so I don't really teach like that where I'm actually physically moving people's fingers or anything like that. So it's not the way. So it's not really been changed at all. I think obviously it's great being in a room with somebody and stuff. There's like, you get like a vibe and things, and like a good energy and things when there's a group of students. But in terms of like when we're actually teaching, we're not really actually doing that. It's not, I guess like keep going back to Jiu Jitsu, but you need to do that. So you can't really articulate the sort of some of those things are just, it's not possible. You need to physically, show them how that feels. But with the guitar, I don't personally think that that's as necessary.
How do you find teaching? I'm going to refer to it because that's probably one of the only films I know where it shows teaching music of Whiplash. Do you ever get aggressive and throw things at people?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe in a few more years.
Still time, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a funny film, that.
It's crazy, that film.
There's a very famous drum tutor in Manchester. I'm not going to mention any names or anything. He's a really great guy, and he's a wicked drummer and drum tutor. But he's a bit notorious for having that approach. Not as extreme as that, but he's really good, and he expects his students to respect, have that respect. So he's sort of like a softened version of what you see in a film there, like that. But so tutors like that exist, but I've not really sort of got there yet. But this time.
Putting a guitar over someone's head like Jeff Jarrett or something like that. Maybe. So obviously you've mentioned jiu-jitsu a couple of times. Then, what got you into the sport originally? Was you doing something else and it caught your eye? How did it all sort of come about, and when was it?
I think the first thing. I used to when I was younger. There was a boxing gym around the corner from where I grew up. I used to go there, and I was really into like the sort of technical side of boxing in terms of it was a good gym. Like the trainers and stuff it was never like you go in there and it's like, oh, you're going to be fighting and stuff. It was all like described as like a match and competition and things, and it was all like about technically getting better. And I really enjoyed that sort of aspect of like learning while you're working out. I was only really going there just for, mainly because it was right around the corner from where I lived, and it was just like something physical and so I had that interest in sort of like combat sports. And then when I was in uni, sort of the last couple of years in uni, I was like just up late night guitar practice and stuff, and just be like flicking through TV. And I don't know if it even exists anymore, but do you remember Bravo?
Yeah.
The channel Bravo. That used to show like old UFCs, like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after the pay-per-view had been on.
Yeah.
And I used to watch that, and I sort of got obsessed with like practicing and watching that like late night, and sort of started getting into, like, I think 99% of people got into jiu-jitsu via mixed martial arts and, the UFC in particular, but just seeing those like late reruns on Bravo. And then sort of got more into like the sport and stuff, started seeking it out a little bit, like online and things, and watching stuff, and then, you know, got to the end of uni and sort of realized I was really fat and out of shape, even more than I am now. And I was like, oh, I need to find something to do. So I was like, let's, you know, try Jiu Jitsu. I was drawn to that side of mixed martial arts just because of the technique. I think was just because, you know, I'm learning an instrument in a very sort of like studied manner, I guess. So I was already drawn to like that technical side of things. It was already like quite interesting to me. So having a really, you know, that combined with the combat was, you know, something that really interested me. So I just sort of like just Googled like Jiu Jitsu in Manchester and found a gym and kind of went there, and that was it really. It was not yeah, it was super informal or anything. There's no real like big ideas to, you know, train for ages or anything like that. It was just more like, oh, this looks interesting. I'm super fat and out of shape at the moment, so let's, you know, work out by doing something that I think might be interesting. Really, that was it.
That was the sort of come to Fighting Fit, didn't you? Where like myself and Jake sort of started as well after SBG. And they sort of like came like there's quite a hub of quite a few people now that are still training, whether it's still with Fighting Fit or sort of around Manchester now from that sort of era.
2012, 2013, did you start? Was that right?
Yeah, I don't know. Can't remember. Maybe 2000. Yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. No,
the small arches or the big arches? Which one did you start at?
Oh, the small one. Small arches. When it was next to the CrossFit gym.
Yeah. So 2012.
Yeah. I think when I very first started, it was across from the CrossFit gym, and then it moved next door. Yeah. So I think I did like a couple of sessions where it's in the back, like, and then it moved really early into my training. But yeah, a lot of people do still train from. I think a massive part of that is like, I know he's not part of the gym anymore, but Liam Wandi, man, inspired so many. Like, what a fucking cool guy he is. Like, inspired loads of people. Like, me in particular. I think that's one of the main reasons. Like, I kept training. Well, that is the main reason. You know, like when he used to run those fundamental classes and stuff. Yeah,
the way that you sort of broke it down, it was just
really great teacher.
Yeah.
It was a little old blue belt when we started. When he started serving, Liam Wandi.
He was, yeah. So I remember like a lot of
stuff down there.
Heavy pressure stuff I still remember, and I'm like, that was like the foundation of building my sort of top game. And I was like, this what this guy's telling me sounds so advanced, but he's explaining it in such a simple way where I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, man. I remember what's cool about it. It's got that sort of weird, like, sort of old school martial arts vibe about him.
Yeah.
Like, very like respectful, and you know that when I started getting into jiu-jitsu, I was looking more like online and seeking it out and stuff. I was like, that was a big thing I liked about it as well, like the lifestyle, like the vibe of it, and he definitely has that. And I thought, you know, this guy's fucking cool as fuck. But yeah, great teacher. And I think, you know, sort of really, yeah, like you said, inspired like quite a lot of, you know, grapplers that are still, you know, still training to this day, really.
Yeah. He's got his black belt now with Eddie Cohn, and I think he's sort of helping teach down there. So, like, Eddie Cohn's definitely sort of got a great new or great person at his gym there.
Yeah, definitely. Is one of the best teachers I've ever sort of. I'm not studied with loads of people, but you know, still one of the best teachers I've ever had. I think. You know, just
100%.
Really good at breaking things down.
Would you say he's the best teacher you've had?
Absolutely. I think loads of people are great at different things. I think.
Oh, well saved, Matt. Well fucking saved.
Yeah, I think
I'd agree with him. Like Liam Wandi's like up there with one of the probably arguably best, one of the top ones in the UK for teaching things.
Yeah, the way you broke stuff down, I agree with that. I think each person that can teach, obviously, you can be a great martial artist or a great fighter or jiu-jitsu player or whatever, but if not all of it transitions quite well. And I think, Simon, obviously, that helps that you're a PT, so you've got a set of, I can't think of the right word. That's how bad I am at explaining. But you've got to try and explain stuff a bit like when you're teaching, Mark. You've got to try and teach it in a way that people can absorb it and then put it into fruition. I think Liam was probably one of the best to come out of that, from what I've learned anyway.
Yeah. What was good as well, Simon does this as well, is like realizing that not everyone learns in the same way. So, you might have your go-to way that you teach this certain subject, but no matter how good you are at that, you'll still get someone who just looks at you like they have no clue what you just said. Yeah. So you need to change the way you teach it. And I think a lot of people, some other people that studied with in music and jiu-jitsu, have they're great and they have their way. But if that doesn't click with you, they're not going to change their way of doing it. Like if you don't get it the way they explain it, then you're an idiot. You know what I mean? But Liam and Sam as well, not like that. Like they'll just present it in a different way. And I think everyone learns differently, so you've got to be able to do that. Yeah, I think being a good teacher is like, it's kind of like you said, like there's all good fighters and good, good competitors and things. But to me, like I'm not, by no means I'm people should listen to me when it comes to jiu-jitsu. But what I like about jiu-jitsu, it's like, it's kind of an all-round thing. The people that I really admire are those people that are wicked competitors, really good in like gi, really good in no gi, and then really good teachers, and then even like good at MMA. Do you know, like Hodger Gracie? Like he's like, I just think he's like the GOAT to me. And so it's like because and he's got the lifestyle thing going down, and like not that's all important, but to me that's what jiu-jitsu is. That all that stuff. It's not just like being really good at gi, competing, and anything. It's like having that whole sort of having the big picture.
Yeah, I think a lot of it as well, sort of trying to have the personality that essentially makes you not a dickhead, kind of goes with it as well.
That works a little bit.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's probably helpful in a lot of things.
There are a lot of people out there who are good at an aspect and do well in like competition, but then they're just not very nice people.
Yeah, I understand though. Like, I think if you're a big time competitor, or it's quite a selfish, pursuit, isn't it? Like, you've got to focus on yourself and to a certain extent. So it's hard, but like people who are great teachers are great competitors as well. But those people that are good at both exist. But I think that's super hard. Like a lot of people who are really good competitors are focused purely on themselves, which they might need to be. And obviously if you're spending a lot of time just getting improving yourself and trying to be the best, and just that does breed ego and things like that. Like the whole ego doesn't exist in jiu-jitsu. It's like bollocks, if you ask me. Like there's loads of it, but it's totally understandable. I think like if you're gonna really pursue something in a very focused manner, and this is like your life, I think some of those people are gonna rub other people the wrong way a little bit, just because they're so focused on their own path.
A very good point. So you do anything at the moment sort of to keep sane sort of during the lockdown? Like, because I know a lot of people are sort of struggling with either not being able to get out or not being able to sort of socialize in the same manner. Is there anything that you're doing personally that's sort of keeping your head on your shoulders?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like I said before, doing a lot of playing music is like quite a reclusive thing. So I've been like isolating since I was 9. So I'm like, I'm all about the isolation life. Uh, so no, seriously though, I think just playing a lot and writing keeps me sort of occupied, and I've been trying to add a few things as well. I've recently started trying to meditate, which I've tried before, and not because just because people say it's really helpful and things like that. So it's like interested in it.
Yeah.
Not really having a proper desire to do it, but just like, oh, this seems really interesting. I want to explore it. So I started doing that using Sam Harris's Waking Up app.
I think I heard of that one.
It's good. It's good. It's very like straight to the point. There's not much like hocus pocus with it or anything. So I guess it's just a different approach to it than what I have experienced before. So I've sort of been doing that recently in lockdown, which has been cool. But yeah, unfortunately, like a lot of the things that I do are quite reclusive anyway. So I've just been sort of doing that. But yeah, what else have I been doing really? Just like obviously missing Jiu Jitsu a lot. So I've just been kind of trying to do some more studying online and things. A lot of people, including yourself, have been putting great sort of extra material out and things. So I've just been doing a lot of, sat there with the guitar practicing, watching matches and stuff, and just trying to sort of study a little bit. But yeah, aside from that, I don't think I've been doing really much out of what I would normally do anyway. Obviously, I'm still teaching loads, but it's gone online. I think just mainly the way I go about things have changed, but like what I'm actually doing is not that much different. Like, thankfully, it's just not through any real effort of myself. Just luckily, a lot of the things that I do have not really relied on me going outside that much.
Fair enough. No, that's fair. Like, so are there any sort of things that you're gonna sort of keep going after the lockdown that you've kind of introduced to your daily routine at the moment?
I think definitely the meditation thing's been wicked. I've really enjoyed it this time around. Like all the other times I've tried to do it, it's been like, I need to do this, but I don't really like it. Kind of like eating broccoli, I guess. Like I actually quite like broccoli.
Broccoli's nice.
Yeah. No, I don't know why I said that. It's just like a go-to. I actually really like broccoli.
Brussels sprouts are in a better argument, even though they're nice.
Oh, what you need, man, you need to cook them up, fry them with butter and some paprika, salt and pepper.
That's a game changer, and I like Brussels sprouts.
I thought you right out of that.
That might go right to my dinner tonight.
So yeah, I think the meditation thing, I'll keep that going. I'm really, really enjoying that. And just sort of, I have tried to structure my day a little bit, but I've not been that good at sticking to it, if I'm honest. I've tried to, just because you get up and you've got just time to kill. I mean, like I'm been teaching in the evenings, but it's like the day is just open-ended. So it's kind of be like, I'm going to do this at this time and this at this time. So things that I wouldn't do anyway, but just trying to give them a time in the day. So it's kind of a little bit more structured to sort of help pass the day. But, to be honest, I'm not really stuck to it as much as I would like to. But, I'm still trying to, try and get that going really.
Obviously, because you say like you teach, you write, you play music. That's your general work anyway. What's different between what pre-lockdown and lockdown for you? Is there much that's changed? Are you normally out doing things, or do you still do things internally at home? Has much changed? It's just how's it worked for you?
I think the biggest thing that's changed, like I was saying to Simon, like a lot of it's quite similar. Like a lot of things I do are, a sort of solitary pursuits anyway. So, but obviously gigging, not playing at all. So that's a massive change. And then, you know, going out to rehearsals and things, and, you know, going out to, usually I'd be like going out teaching, but obviously it's all at home now, which is, you know, fine. But I think the biggest change is just like going out playing, is just obviously non-existent anymore. So that's been the biggest thing. But, you know, it's been quite welcome. You know, it gets tiring, you know, like just being on the road all the time, like driving around, and, you know, sounds like quite cool to some people, like, oh, you get to see, you don't really see anything because you're like driving all day, you get to a venue, sound check, play, it's dark, you know, you're not seeing anything really. So, you know, even though I love like actually playing, like the whole driving around and, you know, dragging gear and stuff, you know, it might be good if it was like on private jets and stuff and broaders that did everything. I might, you know, think of it.
One day, Mark, one day.
Yeah, I need to get that call from like Rihanna or something who's like wants me to play on her tour or whatever.
But, it's happened to a few people, especially there was obviously everyone probably knows him now, but he'd go up round the corner from me, literally like a few streets away, and he's like the next big thing now. So it doesn't matter where you're from or who you are; it's just one chance. That's all you need.
Yeah, definitely. But
as Eminem
said. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll hold on to that. But yeah, I think that's been the main thing. But yeah, like I said, it was like a nice respite actually at first. But I'm itching to get back out now.
Yeah.
I think me and Simon spoke to this a few weeks ago and sort of built over the weeks. You start out quite structured, and then it sort of goes, well, I don't need to be as structured, and you get even less structured. And I find myself now going, I can't bother thinking of things to keep me busy, so I purposely don't get out of bed till at least 10 o'clock because there's nothing. I've done everything about 3 times. I don't want to do it again. I'm bored. And then I do like stuff like this in the middle of the day, and then I might do a bit in the house, and then it's evening, and then you just settle down for the night then.
Yeah. No, I think it's been like, obviously it's been very hard for a lot of people, and it's not like, yeah, it's obviously a horrible thing, but there has been certain benefits for, you know, just having this little time to, you know, relax and take a step back and look at things. But, you know, obviously, you know, I
won't get this
wish
again
that it never happened and everything like that. But, you know, yeah, the little sort of respite from normal life has been, you know, quite nice in some ways.
Yeah, it's giving everyone time to sort of take a step back and kind of reflect on what they're doing themselves, and also, like, I know a lot of people where, like, last week with Lee was saying he sort of got to know his kids again, hasn't he? So, like, a lot of people, they're sort of like taking the advantage of things like this, where they're sort of making the most of it and trying to sort of take stock and try and get a bit healthier as well. I think a lot of people are taking this time with, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. I've started like knock the dust off the kettlebells and things for the first time in like years, man.
Does Frankie still do like the kettlebells and strength and conditioning stuff?
She does. She trains at CrossFit gym now, not because she's that.
Where Alison Rocker is?
No, a different gym. She's not really sort of that interested in CrossFit per se, but it's just, you know, the gym's close and it's like a lot of the same exercise and things. I think she'd probably be more sort of into, you know, a gym doing, you know, how Dom used to train. Do you know, where it's like a lot of like functional fitness and stuff?
Yeah.
Shout out to Dom Kinsey.
Yeah. I was with him. It feels like a month ago, but obviously it was months ago now. It was at Tim McKnight's housewarming. Like, he had like a barbecue, and I've not seen Dom in years. And we're just catching up. Obviously, he said that he now teaches just off Deansgate. Is it Bridge Street? He does some stuff there. But yeah, like you said about Liam Wandi, Dom was one of them people where you could relate to him a lot, and he would explain it and he would teach it in a way so even the most experienced sort of weightlifter or strength and conditioning person to the most naive person would understand it through and through. So yeah, like you say, shout out to Dom Kinsey.
Yeah, it's good, man. Really good. Plus, it's like, you know, he's mostly dealing with just like general members of the public when he's like really like, and I know he does do it as well, like professional athletes and things like that's where he's like shines, done it, doing that sort of, but he can still, you know, take it down to the level where somebody like me he doesn't really know anything and I can still understand what he's saying. So having that, you know, ability to train and teach people of all sort of stages in their learning is a talent in itself. It's really good, and he could do that for sure. He was really good at that.
So, like you said, you've knocked the dust off the kettlebells. Have you found yourself trying to push yourself a little bit more? Or do you find it's harder to do it at home, or do you have a set routine? How are you working at home?
I found it harder, man. To be honest, I'm not very good at like motivating myself to work. Like I said, like even from a young age, and when I first sort of started doing like boxing, it was more like I want to learn it was the skill aspect of it that like intrigued me. Not that I'm saying doing kettlebells is not skillful. Like it's, you know, you need the right technique and stuff, but I'm just not that into it really. So it's kind of always like a means to an end. I'm doing this to get fit, but you know, when I'm like training Jiu Jitsu or whatever, it's like I really want to. I want to, you know, get, you know, improve and you know, learn more. So I end up training harder just in the pursuit of trying to learn more, really, not because I'm just like, there's no, you know, it's not because I want to get fitter. That's just kind of like well, I do want to get fitter, but it's kind of like a sort of byproduct of it. The main focus is just trying to get better at something. So I think that's what works best for me. So being at home and it's like, you know, doing a kettlebell workout and stuff, I always feel wicked afterwards, but it's just the initial, you know, getting myself to do it, because I just don't, I'm not really drawn to it as like, I don't really like, so I could never do CrossFit. It's like, I'm not really like, again, not ragging on it or anything. It's wicked. If that's your thing, then awesome. But I'm just not really good at like exercising for exercising's sake. I'm just not that sort of person. I wish I was like, but yeah, it's always been, you know, wanting to learn something, and then getting fit from it was just like a sort of a, you know, like a kind of almost happy accident that, you know, comes along with it.
Yeah. Simon's probably doing leg curls as we speak to him now. We don't even notice.
You know, my legs are in agony. Did a leg workout with Nicole yesterday, and it was not fun.
See, I can't. Yeah, I wish I had. It's just the drive to do that. But I think a lot of that is as well just that habit. I'm just not built the habit to do it. I think a lot of people may feel like that. Was like, oh, I can't be bothered, and then as soon as you build that habit, you start looking forward to it then.
Yeah, it's almost like the sort of itch you get when you don't, sort of like, say, the jiu-jitsu, sort of that little itch of not training. So sort of, that's the way I sort of relate to sort of just general exercise in general, like in general now.
Yeah. I definitely feel it without not training jiu-jitsu. I'm sort of so eager to start training now. Yeah, but it'd be nice to be able to transfer that, you know, passion or whatever onto anything. But yeah, it just don't work like that, unfortunately.
No, that's fair enough.
So back onto the band pieces of my mind. Obviously, pre-lockdown, you probably had some sort of dates in mind that you were going to tour or do certain venues. Is there still dates for the end of the year that you're still in place, or has everything's just sort of been cancelled until everything's back to normal? How's it working?
Yeah, I think everything has been cancelled. We might actually have 1 second. I'm just going to jump online and see. One festival hadn't been rescheduled yet, but I think it might have been now. I'm just going to check. But yeah, 90% of stuff's been rescheduled for sure. I think. What? Yeah, so we were supposed to be playing Moving Festival. That's August the 30th, but I think that has now been put back as well.
Where was that going to be?
That was a local one. That's in Stockport. So it would have been a good one in terms of getting quite a few local people down. But I think that's sort of been put on hold at the moment as well. But yeah, everything sort of, we had quite a few stuff over the summer, but it's all just, yeah, been postponed or it's up in the air. Like, it's been postponed, but we don't know what the new date is or anything like that. So I think a lot of people, especially like festival stuff, is it's expensive. So no one wants to start restarting the promotion of it or anything like that for it just to get changed again. So I think a lot of people are just, you know, saying it's been postponed, but they're holding back to confirm the new like date and things like that. Or they've postponed it to like January, like super far, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned festivals. What sort of the biggest sort of festival or venue you've done?
Biggest festival I've ever played? I don't know. I've been played quite a few, to be honest. Like over the years.
Is there like one performance at a festival that particularly stands out then?
I'm trying to have a think what like the biggest festival performance I ever played. There's been a few. I did last year. We did. It wasn't a massive stage, but it was a good festival in terms of. I've done sort of like Sound City and things, and in Liverpool, and done Africa. Is it Africa? Oh yeah, festival around there as well. That's good. That's a good festival. Last year we did Brighton Funk and Soul Festival. That was not like a big festival, but it was really cool. Like a lot of, you know, good acts and stuff like Alice Russell and stuff. You know, acts that I would just go and watch anyway.
Yeah.
Like we saw that. We did that festival last year. That was wicked. And yeah, I'm trying to think in terms of like pure size. I don't know. Like they all seem like when you're up there playing, they all seem like the same.
Same sort, yeah.
Yeah. They're all just like massive. So it's just like I don't actually know.
Have you ever been with a festival where, like you said, that Brighton one then, where there's been a couple of stages and you're on and you're like, fuck, it's clashing with a band that I actually want to see. Do we have to play right now? Can you name any examples?
Yeah, that's happened before. We've done that did happen on that festival. I think we managed to get back though. That like Alice Russell, we didn't want to miss Alice Russell, so we sort of like finished our set and just ran because we were on another stage that was sort of like on the other side of like the seafront, like pier thing, and so it was like probably. The other stage was probably like a mile away, and we just like ran to it to catch the start of the set. But yeah, that happens a lot, and also just from like a bit of a sorry, what you say?
I said you said you found it hard to motivate yourself for fitness sake, whereas in that mile meant something, so you did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the fastest mile I've ever run in my life. But also like from a bit of a sort of selfish standpoint. It's sometimes like some bands will be playing when you're playing, you're like, man, obviously everyone's going to be listening to these guys. And not, like, I hope we have people that turn up to hear us. But I think, yeah, so sometimes you think that as well. When you're doing these festival gigs, you're like, well, you know, of course, they'd rather be over there listening to those guys. But I would be. But I think when you're in the actual band, you have like, you think that quite a lot, if you know what I mean. It's like, you never, like, I don't really listen to music that I put out, which might sound weird, like, but it's not, I'm more interested in listening to other people. So yeah, sometimes like when you're doing festivals and there's like a wicked band on or artist at the same time slot on a different stage, you're like, oh, I hope some people actually, turn up to it to hear us, and they always do. It's just like surprising because you're sort of thinking of it as like a punter, and you wouldn't, you're not always like going to watch your own band because it's like, I know these songs inside out. I'm all, like this is the last thing I want to listen to. I'd rather go and listen to these guys over here and hear something new.
I think it's same as transition. Like if you've got a jiu-jitsu match or an MMA fight or whatever, or even doing these podcasts, I don't think me and Simon actually listen back to them because we've lived it, if that makes sense. We might listen to certain bits because we liked it or want to remind ourselves, but I think you would only listen to yourself for listening's sake, to maybe learn or see where maybe you can adapt. Like, I wouldn't watch my own fights, jiu-jitsu maybe sounds the same, because I'd lived through it, and it's kind of like cringing to watch. Even if you did well and beat the guy or whatever, I've done that. I would rather watch X fight or X music because I enjoy that more than watching myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I do listen to myself back a lot. That's in terms of just practicing and getting better. But it's like there's a purpose to it. I don't listen back to myself to enjoy, like, it's like a recreational thing. Like, It's always from, like you said, it's from a point of like trying to get better at what you're doing. Like, sometimes when you're in the moment, like, I guess if you're in a match as well, it's like you're sort of just reacting. Yeah. So you need to sort of go back and watch it and see what you can improve upon. But you're not like, sat there like with a beer, like, oh yeah, like battered that guy, that was great, or whatever. You're right. You want
people out there that do that. Definitely people out there that do that.
Maybe, yeah. Probably are.
You just turn around and go, like, if you're there and someone's like, oh, watch me beat up this guy, you just think, fuck off. Like, why would you even want to do that?
Yeah. So, yeah, it takes a weird type of person, but yeah. So when I do listen back to myself a lot, actually, but it's always from just trying to improve. It's not like enjoyment sort of thing. Yeah. I'd rather not, like, if I could, but it's so vital, especially from a music thing, like music standpoint. You need to be listening to yourself and making improvements and things. Like I said, when you're in the moment playing, it can sound one way to you, and then when you listen back, it's usually actually always better than you think. But it's still worth checking out, and just especially like performing live and things, because obviously in the studio you can fix stuff, and it's all about creating the best music possible. It's not about being technically perfect or whatever. If you need to use some sort of trickery to get it sounding great, then do that. The song's the most important thing. But playing live, that doesn't exist, that trickery. So you need to be on top of your game. So, listening back to live stuff and, improving things. Listening back's super important, but, never for like enjoyment.
Yeah.
So the new album then, Made in Pieces, from what I can see here, it's correct. It's got 5 tracks on. Is that right?
No, there's more than that.
11 tracks, I think there is.
There's not loads more. 11.
Simon sent me.
There, yeah.
So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think Spotify comes up with like 5 of the most popular ones, but then if you go on the actual album, there's 11. But
that Zed Bias remix you had done, like, I remember having that on repeat at one point.
Yeah, it's wicked, isn't it? Yeah. It's very like. I've sort of got into more of Zed stuff since working with him, as opposed to like I didn't really know that much about him previously. Other guys in the band did. They were like, oh, they were big fans, but I personally didn't really hear much of his stuff. So I've got into it sort of through working with him and like listening to a lot of stuff that he's just been working on, and he's not like in the studio with him. He's like, oh, check this out or whatever. And I love his like. He's like a lot of his stuff's super dark, man. Like it's like really,
heavy bass.
Like, yeah, it's super like it's really like dark, but I love that stuff. It's very like it's not like you know, he's got like happier sounding stuff, but I think a lot of his stuff's like really like dark, and I love that. And that remix is like that. It's like really sort of dark and the complete opposite from the original tune. The original tune's like sort of quite sort of uplifting, and then the Zed's is not like that, but in the best possible way. It's like more sort of dark and just like brooding, which is wicked. He's like totally done his own thing with it. Yeah, great. It's a great remix.
Yeah.
So on the album, then, what sort of sticks out for you? If you were like, people listening to it, they were watching this now, what sort of song would you tell people to sort of go on first?
Oh, I think they're probably the most accessible one is Nothing to Lose is probably the most accessible one in terms of it's not got that much weird stuff in it. But Listen's cool. I like that a lot. That was written by sort of the singer and the keys player, and the drummer as well. That's a cool tune. So like really sort of that's one of the sort of groovier tunes. I like that a lot. That's a good one. And then I think my personal favourite tune on there is a tune called Climb Down, which is again just a really nice songwriting. Not written by me, that one, so I can say that I had nothing to do with that tune. But I really like that's probably my favourite. In terms of tunes that I wrote on the album that I'm sort of proud of, I think number 5, Drifting, is a tune that I like a lot, and it's probably got some of the more sort of weirder stuff in it. But yeah, just again, like I said, I don't really like listening to stuff that I've sort of had a major hand in. So yeah, Climb Down. So obviously played the guitar on it, but you know, writing it and stuff had really nothing to do with too much, like apart from, you know, writing some of the guitar parts and things. But that's, yeah, I love that tune.
Nothing to Lose. It says part 1. Does that mean you've already written the other parts, or you just know you will, or as a group?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that in. So there's as well. There's this poem, volume 3, the last track, which is like the main melody in that tune is like a theme that we've sort of that song's probably had about 10 different versions. So, but 2 have already been released on like mixtapes and things like in the past, that were just like sort of not really commercially out there. They were just sold at gigs and things. So, but yeah, I think we're not like a prog band, but I think we do have that element of like progginess where it's like I think a lot of themes and things and melodies re-emerge in different songs and are recycled and stuff. It's a bit like, I guess, our DJ would doing like everything's played live, but you know, a lot of the music we listen to is electronic and stuff, and you know, those influences are still there. We're just kind of doing them in a live band concept, so you know, different things re-emerge in other songs. So yeah, so Nothing to Lose will probably have some sort of rework at some point in the future.
I think listening to it as sort of as a whole project though, it's one of them albums where you can play from like start to finish, and it's sort of the running theme just sort of echoes through it, rather than sort of being able to show it some albums where it'll be like every track is like kind of like a rude interruption where it's sort of they don't kind of mesh together.
Yeah,
this album sort of kind of from start to finish, I find, takes you on a bit of a journey. You can sort of sit there and sort of sit with the whole album without having to skip one, because it's a bit of a disruption to your sort of mood, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. I really appreciate that. That's really nice to hear, because I think that's like a big thing for us. Like, I think we were talking about before having a mixtape where there's like, you've got a bunch of great songs, but they don't really sit together with a sound. Like, the songs are ace, like individually they're wicked, but they don't have that overarching sound, which you have on an album. And I think growing up, like, you know, most of the band are sort of late 20s, early 30s, kind of, we've grown up listening to records, like albums, you know, where it's like a body of work as opposed to, you know, separate things. Like, you know, some people are, you know, like younger now are used to, you know, like, oh, this single's come through or whatever, and I'm going to listen to that with this video and blah, blah, blah. Which, again, not knocking that, it's wicked, but it's just a different thing. It's just a different, like, form of art, I think. So, like, the album is definitely, like, a well-established, like, form of art. And I think the key to a good album is, like, it has that overarching sound, which, you know, it sounds cohesive. And, you know, you might actually ditch a really good song that's, like, might actually be the best song that you've got, but it doesn't fit with the sound of the album, so you can't put it on the album.
Yeah.
Because that needs the sort of utmost respect, the overall sound, because as a piece of work on its own, that's like the most important thing. But again, that's just like, you know, our generation have grown up with listening to albums, so it's like really important to us. That isn't actually like modern music isn't actually as important now. But for us, the people in the band, it was important for us to do that because that's what we grew up listening to, and that's what we sort of like listening to now. Like, I listen to odd tunes like here and there, but I'm always like put an album on and listen to it from, you know, even if I have to stop it or whatever, you know, I'll put the album on first track and just listen through it. And, you know, when there's those like no skip, you know, all killer, no filler records, that's like, they're just like the holy grail, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, no, I'm not saying that our records like that, but that's definitely the goal.
No, definitely, and sort of you can hear that in the in the album from start to end. It's sort of for me it's sort of like the perfect sort of like Sunday afternoon or Saturday evening sort of album where you can sort of put it on and just really sit there with the music and just enjoy it. And there's not really any need to sort of sit there and skip through it. But sort of like off the back of that, then, are there sort of any artists around sort of the north or northwest that you're looking to work with, or that you're trying that you have worked with in the past, where there might be something coming out?
I'm trying to think if there's some bits. Yeah, there's loads of good artists, really. Actually, that even if we didn't work with them, that you should just check out. Like Children of Zeus popped up to mind straight away. They're just like a wicked band. I've actually worked with Tyler sort of on some of Zed stuff. So Zed's put out an album last year, I think, called Selector Volume 1, that had a track on it called Say It, that's featuring Tyler Daly, who's in Children of Zeus. Yeah. And I played the guitar on that, so I kind of sort of worked with him, sort of not directly, but that was cool. And, you know, managed to play guitar on quite a few of Zed's stuff over the past sort of few years. But, you know, yeah, there's tons of good sort of artists coming out in Manchester and stuff now with you know, on the soul scene and things like that. But you know, I could sort of work with any, really, but I guess I'm more excited just to like listen to them do their own thing, really, and just like, you know, I'd be more than happy to work with any of them, like with the band and stuff. But like I said, I'm kind of at the end of the day, I'm sort of like a fan, really, more, you know, like I said, like that was my main driving force in music, is like enjoying just listening and stuff. So, you know, just to listen to them do their own things, like, you know, enough for me.
No,
Have you got any plans to do any sort of proper, like, proper as in like tours anywhere in the UK or Europe or America, anything like that?
Yeah, hopefully, for sure. After like this like lockdown's over, that'd be you know, that's should be really on our radar straight away to be doing. To be honest, you know, we had this like festival season that was like our main focus, but obviously that's not happening. So when lockdown's over, I guess it'd be interesting to see what the landscape is in terms of like, is festival season going to be like January this year as opposed to like summertime, just because is it all going to be shifted and we should still be doing this festival season, but it's actually a different time of year because of what's happened? Or is it just going to not exist and it'll be in the summertime like normal and we just skipped it for a year? And then if that is the case, then, you know, we need to be looking at getting on a tour. So I guess it's just sort of seeing when you know, lockdown finishes, just seeing what sort of you know, what the landscape is in the sort of music industry and things like that, because it might be like no one could really afford to do anything. You know, I guess it's the same with everything. It's like really interesting to see what will actually happen, because again, you know, we don't know what the travel thing is. I think if we do go on the tour, it's going to be a UK tour, or you know, I can't see, you know, as being able to travel around very freely for a good while. So, you know, hopefully that's not the case. But, you know, I guess it'll just be see what happens. But, you know, we definitely want to be doing those things. It's just if we're allowed.
Of course, that it will be. It won't go back to normal. It'll be more of a new normal, which people will get used to. And I feel like anything's better than this. So if you're allowed to go out and it's still structured the way that it's only a percentage amount of people that can go to festivals, or how it will work, I think people would prefer that than nothing at all. But again, it's how it would affect everything monetary wise. So will there be as much money for you playing? Will everything still be as expensive? Will it be more expensive because it's becoming more niche and it's going to be harder to get into? There's still so many questions that probably won't be answered for months.
Yeah, it's really interesting / very scary, but just gotta kind of deal with it. Like you said, see what happens, see what this new normal is. But you know, everyone will sort of find a way. It's sort of, you just got to adapt, haven't you? It's always been like the music industry's been like, has so many, you know, different versions of itself from year to year. Like the same things don't work every year in terms of like making money or what you should be doing and things like. Obviously, this is a massive upheaval.
Yeah.
But it's one of those industries where things do change every year. So you've got to be adapting. But yeah, so it'll be just interesting to see what the how everything's looking. But you know, fingers crossed we can tour. That'd be ideal. But we'll we've just got to remain hopeful for that, I guess.
Of course.
There's a section that we tend to do at the sort of before we sort of round off everything, where it's sort of like a quick fire question round.
Okay.
So we'll start off. Have you got any questions there, Jake?
I always start with this one because it just sets the tone. It's a quick question one. So ketchup or brown sauce?
Ketchup.
What spice at Nando's?
Oh man, the hot one, the extra hot one, is it? I don't really go that much. It's like adult McDonald's. Yeah, the hot one.
A city break or beach holiday?
City break.
What's your favourite Pokemon?
I don't know anything about Pokemon.
Wow, you must be our generation, man. What's going on?
Man, I didn't have the cards or anything. Like, yeah, man. I remember in the
That's it. It's over.
I remember in the schoolyard, people had the cards and stuff, but yeah, I was not that into it. I don't know. Pikachu's the only one I can actually remember the name of, but you know.
That's a good answer. Just say that.
Yeah, Pikachu, man, big fan.
So I guess you can answer it both ways, as a fan or as an artist. Gig or festival, as in like an arena or a festival.
Arena for sure.
We're going to go Family Guy or Simpsons.
That's hard, man. I never used to like Simpsons. Sorry, I'm talking more than I should do. Simpsons.
If you had to pick a decade since you've been born of music, what would you pick?
Oh man, that's rock hard again. The 70s, but like I need 90s hip hop, man. Kind of like the 70s, but like with bits of 90s hip hop injected into it. I can't decide one, man. It's too hard.
So we're gonna have a 3-act lineup, dead or alive, for a gig. Who would your 3 acts be, sort of in no necessary order?
Whoa. Oh, that's really hard. Prince, for sure. Prince is easy. That's there. All there. Prince. Oh, man. The other two is hard. I'd say the Beatles.
Okay.
And then both of them. Oh, man. Actually, the Beatles can do one for David Bowie.
Wow.
That's hard, though. That was an easy decision. And D'Angelo, man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, Prince, David Bowie, and D'Angelo.
Sam, what do you think the chances are that back-to-back, even though they got booted out, the Beatles were mentioned twice in two back-to-back podcasts?
Yeah, true.
There was on the last one, Lee Nicholson is a radio presenter, and he had one of the... Oh, was it Beatles or did he say Bee Gees? I'm probably getting mixed up with things now.
Was it Bee Gees?
Yeah.
The Bee Gees would be wicked to check out as well, man. Bee Gees are cool. Yeah. I used to always take the mick out of my dad for listening to the Bee Gees, and then like when I grew up, I'm like,
respect.
Bee Gees are actually serious dudes, man.
Back to questions. So obviously, because you train jiu-jitsu, gi or no gi?
Gi.
Wow. And then we're going to go to watch as a fan, ADCC or IBJJF?
ADCC. Yeah.
Nice.
I think I prefer training gi, but to watch no gi is, I think, a little more exciting to watch.
Yeah.
So when you're watching the sport, it can be MMA or jiu-jitsu related. A submission, like a quick submission, or like a full round war. Like just constant translation.
Yeah, war. I think. Yeah, that's more interesting.
Okay, so on to a bit of MMA. Pride or UFC?
Pride, man.
Old school.
Soccer kicks.
Yeah, man. Some head stomps.
Anderson Silva or George St. Pierre?
Anderson Silva.
And then Silva or John Jones?
Silva into which
peak sort of prime Anderson Silva.
Or John Jones.
Yeah.
John Jones, man. I like him. He's a proper horrible bastard. Yeah, man. It's just, yeah. I like his, he's obviously done some terrible thing, but I think he's
he's the GOAT. He is the GOAT. He is,
oh man, for sure. I think, like I said, I don't really watch that much MMA anymore, to be honest, but yeah, I wish he would just embrace the whole just being horrible. Like, yeah. I don't like the old,
like a proper heel.
Yeah, like when he like rocks up to press conferences in his best like church shoes, and you know being the Mr. Nice Guy and stuff. I was like,
it's not you.
Just be a horrible dude. That's you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just embrace it, man. But,
Because you
like,
said
say that again.
because you said pride. That's what I had a question on. So in the prime, Couture or Fyodor Emelianenko?
Randy Couture or Fedor?
Fyodor. Who would you have picked? And same to you, Simon, as well.
Oh, Fedor, man.
Yeah, I've got to go Fedor with that.
Easy.
I agree with that. But it's a matchup that we all still probably would have seen.
Yeah, that didn't. Yeah, it never happened, did it? Yeah, man. Fedor for sure. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to sort of see a Fedor versus DC, both in the prime, or even a DC and Couture in the prime.
Yeah, I think when you talk about John Jones being the GOAT, I honestly do feel that DC, Daniel Cormier, is probably number 2 GOAT of all time.
Yeah.
Like, he, the only person ever going to probably defeat. I know Miocic has beat him, but he's also beat Miocic, and I still think he would beat Miocic 8 out of 10. But I just think Cormier, for what he did when he's a light heavyweight, really. He's just a square light heavyweight. But stepping up at heavyweight in strike force, and then obviously means stepping down and then back up, I just think he's probably one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great, man. I think obviously as well, it's not. I don't know. Obviously, you never know, but he's not using any other helpful things. That steroids. I don't even know why I'm beating around the bush. It's not like as some of the other ones.
Solution that's going to beat you up.
Yeah, no, like. I want them all to do steroids anyway. Fuck it, like I want them juiced to the gills, looking like fucking superheroes, man. Like that's another thing that I miss about Pride. I want just like beetroot red with like veins popping out of everywhere, just like furious, absolutely furious. Just man, jacked up, juiced up Pride Vanderlei Silver, man. That is just
squashing
to behold. That is something to behold. But no, I don't think Cormier. It doesn't seem like that's a path that he's taken. So he's competing on a super high level at different weight classes. Completely.
Same when you talk about Bisping, isn't it?
Natural.
He always said that for a long time. If he's facing these people like your Vanderleis and your Chael Sonnens and Belforts and all them, and they came out as testing positive for all these drugs, and Dan Henderson as well, and TRT and whatever.
Vanderlei Silva and Anderson Silva. Really, that middleweight, that fucking Bisping might be the middleweight goat. You know what I mean? If you take away people who've done steroids and look who's left,
But then you got to look at it and go,
Bisping
really just jumped on the bandwagon and got on with it. If he's trying to beat these guys,
you should have just got on with it.
Get on with it, mate.
Well, yeah, I know, man. I wish it was just a free for all. Like there was no. I don't know. You want people to be on an even playing field for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, people aren't born on an even playing field. So should it be like it needs to be this level? So if you're born on that level, then you're not allowed to use them. People who aren't can get up to that level, and it has to be that. So everything's the same. But people are born with longer arms than other people. It's like, should everyone have the arm extension so they're the same? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's super difficult.
It's like people say, "Oh, should we choose a weight class?" And it should be a thing where, like, right, 2020, I'm just going to be juiced to the gill, Jake Cross, and then I'm going to fight at that all year against people that are also juiced to the gills. And then the next year, I'm just not going to be and compete with them.
Or like bodybuilding, where you have like natural, whatever it is, like natural bodybuilding, and then like
unnatural
Olympia and stuff, where they're just like mutants.
But yeah, everyone's going to tune into the unnatural one just to watch monsters beat each other up.
It's a good transition, that, because
yeah, man. It's like, who wants to see Mark Coleman not on steroids? Not me. Like, I want to see him like just jacked, man, just like trying to rip someone's head off.
It's a good transition. That, did you see the report yesterday about the boxing match between Eddie Hall and is it the Mountain?
Arthur Bjornsson.
from Game of Thrones. They've booked a boxing match for September 2021, so they've probably give themselves like 18 months of training. But you're going to watch it just for the circus, not because of the technical ability. Like, would you pay, someone put this brilliantly, would you pay Floyd Mayweather to lift Atlas stones? No. But you would pay to watch them box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of, it's just fighting, isn't it? People are just interested in it. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just, I think it's obviously all sport is really fighting. Like a football match is a fight, but it's just there's so many rules have been injected into it. It's like a different thing, but it's still a competition between two opposing sides. But a fight is just more of a pure representation of that to me. So and people, it's just in people's DNA. Like I'd like to think we were more evolved than that, and we weren't but I think it's just we just are interested in it. So I think if you boil anything down to like a sort of a fight, people are going to be interested in it. But you're right. If it was something else like lifting Atlas stones, don't get me wrong, I like watching that on Boxing Day, or whatever, whenever Strongman's on each year, New Year's Day, so I'm all about it. But you're not going to watch Floyd Mayweather do that. But I think if you put the framework of a fight, I think it could be anything, and people will be interested in it just because it's sort of in human DNA. I think people give it themselves too much of a hard time about that, like, oh, it's violent or whatever. It's just like, it is, but it's just don't give yourself a hard time for enjoying it because it's just in you as a human. Like, I wish we were more evolved and weren't so into it, but we just are. So just enjoy it.
Yeah, true. Is there anything else, Mark, you'd like to plug or talk about? Like, is there anything you want to make sure people transition to after listening or watching the podcast?
Not really. Just check the record out, I guess. That'd be good. Made in Pieces, Pieces of a Man. Check that out. Check if you want to sort of, either in the Manchester area or Northwest or whatever, you want to sort of learn an instrument, All Music Academy as well, .co.uk. You can check that out. I think that's it really. Try I don't know, try and get through this lockdown without going mental. And
we'll put all the details in the post anyway about how they can find the details and everything. Is there anyone you'd like to thank? Anyone you'd like to speak about?
Thanks to you guys for getting us on here. I don't know, but I'd like to thank my mum and my dad, and just thanks to you guys, man. It's cool that you're doing this and giving people like something to, I know there's loads of things to listen to and stuff, but giving up and coming fighters, I guess, like the opportunity to get out there and spread the word on what they do and things like that. And it's thanks to you guys for doing that.
Well, thank you.
It's fun. I know me and Simon enjoy it, don't we, Simon?
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
I think that's it, Simon. Anything else you want to add?
That's it. No, just say thank you again for taking your time with us, Mark, and coming on the show.
Yeah, no worries, man. I hope it's interesting for anyone, and they're not, hardcore fight fans, and they realise quickly that I have no idea what I'm talking about, and switch off.
Same with me with music. I'm not really a music listener. I try and dive in and dive out, but like a lot of people in the background just like stick music on just because it's something to do. But I'm one of the people I like to visually watch things. But it's nice to listen to someone that's taken a passion this way and making money from it as well. That's always a bonus. So thanks for being on, pal. If you want to come on again, gladly talk about shoot shit, anything, let us know. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
No worries, man. Cheers. Thank you.